Let's talk today, folks, about TCC about how we can improve the 5770. In other words, speed it up. We'll also see what Nvidia says about the 5770 and 5880. Super. Let's look at another new driver from Nvidia. Have they fixed something again or not? Because they've been having a hard time with it lately. There's a few words about the AMD graphics card launching in China and a number of other interesting news. Hi people, it's Human with you, and as always, a sip of helpful and tasty information for you. Oh yes, that's it. Well guys, I suggest we start with something interesting. With the RTX 5070 and how to boost it and whether it's even possible. So, some expert enthusiasts have noticed that 5070 Ti, and specifically it was Gigabyte. Yes, lately we've been talking about this, there flows. But nevertheless. Anyway, not about that. So, the Gigabyte 5070 gaming OC, which has SK Hynix memory chips on board, instead of Samsung, and ultimately decided to check, well, what's up with overclocking. As a result, when they ran the memory, the clock speeds increased. In fact, each chip up to 2125. Yoda said EM1B EED megahertz. And I remind you that the standard is 1750, which means the chips achieved a bandwidth of 34 gigabits per second for each. Additionally, I will tell you that similar results were also achieved by the RTX 5080. So it turns out if you look at the trade market, this overclocking allows for an additional 7% in performance. And considering that the RTX 5080 is about 10% faster than the same 5070 Ti, you understand that this overclocking really significantly reduces the gap in performance. Yes, of course, someone might want to overclock the graphics processor even more, but the truth is we can say that we can test the overclocking of the 5880 and see what comes of it. It will work out. What do you think about this? Well, friends, let's move on. Let's see what we know about the RTX 5080 Super and RTX 5070 Super. So first, interestingly, they will switch to GDDR7 modules with 3 GB instead of the previous standard of 2 GB. So it turns out that 5080, well, the Supers will get 24 GB of video memory instead of 16. And there's no need to be surprised here because Nvidia is already releasing the mobile RTX 5090, which is based on a graphics processor, naturally GB203, and there are 24 GB and a 256-bit bus. That is technically, it's a sort of desktop equivalent of RTX 5080. If we are talking about the 5070 Super, then we will have 6 modules of 3 GB each, which means the video memory is 18 gigabytes. But at the same time, the insider says that for the most part, the new video cards will not be significantly faster. Well, what's there to be surprised about? But after all, the announced graphics cards already use full versions of the GPU, and increasing the number of CUDA cores is kind of not. So, I'm immediately throwing this question at you. If the price is reasonable, would you choose the Supers because the video memory capacity is increased? And right, why the capacity is important to you? Video memory. Well, maybe for someone in the gaming industry because certain textures specifically rely on VRAM or some other factors, and it's very interesting to see what you will say. By the way, there is some information that most likely, and it's not that I believe it, but I would probably do the same, but supposedly Nvidia has long planned such video cards, possibly even before the release of the 50th series. Well, in any case, yeah, there is even a confirming factor that at one time MSI accidentally seemed to demonstrate a Vanguard GeForce RTX 5080 video card with 24 GB. Accordingly, it somewhat revealed Nvidia's plans. The whole story is curious. I don't know, Huang maybe inhaled something or breathed something in because, well, we recently saw the 5060 with 16 GB, and at the same time we have the 5070 with 12 GB. For the 5060 Ti with 8 gigs, don't even write or say anything. We have already discussed it. It makes me sick from this horror. Meanwhile, we'll soon see the regular 5060. And friends, before we continue, I want to remind you this is very important. By the way, there will be another interesting stream on this topic, a stream directly on the gaming and this channel, so come by. I will send a notification on Telegram. In short, let's dine on the information. We have a goal with you until the end of summer. Make 100 paid subscriptions, Patreon, Boosty, I don't know, the YouTube sponsorship, although that's less necessary because there's a big commission for you, for me, and so on. So, in order for this channel to function, but I had another interesting information and news. I won't share it on the stream, so don't miss out. But those who want and can support financially, welcome. All the links are in the description. Well, if you suddenly like what I do, the delivery, the content, and so on. Since I mentioned 5080, I can't not say that such fan-made versions of video cards were released, especially for those who love the gaming industry, especially those who love Doom. ROG Astral announced a collaboration with Bethesda and ID Software, and because of this, video cards 5080 will be released dedicated to the shooter Doom the Dark Ages. In the end, the video card will be called ROG Astral GeForce RTX 5080 Doom Edition. What a surprise! And it will become part of a special set that will also include a copy of the new project by ID Software. Well, in short, the game you get. The feature of the graphics card naturally will be the visual. So if you look, there is a unique design both of the cooling system shroud and the fans themselves. But overall, it is an ordinary ROG Astral with factory overclocking. Nonetheless, precisely in this version, there will be a powerful cooling system, and the whole setup will occupy 4 expansion slots in your system unit. The card itself will operate at a boost frequency of 2760 MHz instead of the reference 2617. As for the pricing of the set itself, not to mention the video card, I don't know, but I think it won't be cheap. Meanwhile, Nvidia released a new set of video drivers. This was on the 29th, which means 57626. Hotfix. What happened there? I won't remind you once again about the drivers, the problems with the drivers. Essentially, AMD had them, Intel had them, it doesn't matter. Otherwise, it'll start a tug of war over who has more problems with drivers. It's all nonsense. In any case, driver schedule and driver version 576.26 will primarily be relevant for owners of the 50th series. As a result, it is based on the previous release 57602. It includes fixes from the package 57615. It also addresses a number of other issues. This includes the crashes in Black Myth, Wukong, flickering, glowing at night in Forza, Hesimanchi, 1.8 on Missy, the crashes in Red Dead Redemption 2, yes, it Lake, and it freezes in Horizon Forbidden West, flickering background textures in Resident Evil 4, Macy, Weiser Remake, and several others. You can see everything before you. On the screen, you can load all this goodness right now, or even earlier if you saw it before the release, both for Windows 10 and for on 11. And why are we always talking about Nvidia and Nvidia? Let's touch on AMD a little too. Some people write in the comments that one or the other gave me a suitcase. One question, where do I collect the money? I would gladly take it. Tell me where. So well, we talked about the 9070 GRE, meaning Great Radeon Edition. This is, just so you know, AMD RDNA 4th generation. And if we're talking about this graphics card, for now, it's an exclusive model of the Chinese market. Whether it will be in the post-Soviet countries, Europe, and so on, I do not know. On the other hand, nothing prevents you from suddenly wanting to purchase this video card through certain trading platforms. In the end, a quick reminder if someone forgot or didn't know at all. So, what will make the 90 GRE unique? Well, if we can call it that, it will have a cut-down Navi graphics chip, 48 3700 2-stream processors, and a 192-bit memory bus. And of course, how could we not mention VRAM? It's 12 gigs of GDDR6. The GPU clock speed is from 2.22 to 2.79 GHz, bandwidth of 432 GB per second, and a 220 watt indicator TBP. Those who will immediately ask about the information on what kind of power supply is needed, it's 650 from 650 watts. And above, NMSI, in any case, if we daisy, I mean, but if we look at the 9070 GRE, then on average it seems it will have 6% better performance compared to the 7900 GRE. The data was based on video games. They did them in 2K on ultra settings, and that was native. As for the price, the price, the pre-order is now 4,400 yuan. That's approximately 64 US bucks, and the first graphics cards can be obtained on the 8th May. And suddenly, if you're interested, well, look around, maybe you can buy something. And a couple of pleasant software gaming news. I can't pass it by because I grew up on this. It's about Blizzard. Yes, I played Warcraft, but here it's about Starcraft. Starcraft hasn't released anything new for a long time, mostly just remasters, remakes, there at the 20th anniversary, I believe. But the point is that this franchise was contested between the companies NCSoft, Nexon, Netmarble, and Krafton. And just recently, an interesting publication called LTN reported that Blizzard chose as a partner Nexon. So now negotiations have already begun. Everyone has their own vision as usual. As for the details, naturally, they are not disclosed to us. Well, we're probably waiting for some specifics. Nevertheless, what is interesting is that this will be the first time when they cooperate, Blizzard and a company from Korea. And importantly, Nexon will get the rights to distribute the mobile Overwatch in the Korean and Japanese markets. And we'll see how this all affects things. And the last news for today, for those who enjoy when the fifth point burns. And most often, it's yours, and not the neighbor's. sure. Just recently, the developers at From Software shared the official requirements for the PC version of Elden Ring Nightreign. This is the continuation of a DLC for a Souls-like game. We were promised that they would change some principles of the game to add random elements to the world, and all this is for the players. Moreover, you will be able to play together. So regarding the requirements, the minimum specification is Core i5-10600, Ryzen 5 5500, 12 gigabytes of memory, video card RTX 1060 with 3 gigabytes, and RX 580 with 4 gigabytes. Well, honestly, playing on my own configurations, you can check the description. I'd say maybe only the 4070 Ti. Well, the game is demanding. Yes, with streaming, all that was there, and so on. But if you want it to look good in an open world, guys, well, you'll have to get a more powerful machine, not just the 3. 8 gigabytes, done it. Well, I'm talking about VRAM. Well, the recommended is Core i5-11500, Ryzen 5 5600, 16 gigabytes of RAM, a graphics card RTX 1070 with 8 gigabytes, or a Radeon RX Vega 56 with 8 gigs and DirectX 12. Don't forget KCMC pin, Heritage pin 1, no pet save, don't forget. There's 30 gigs of free space and all that. There are actually more and more interesting news in the video game industry. By the way, I just decided to ask this question. If this topic is also interesting to you, write whether to sometimes add something at the end in the IT channel or separately. To run a news segment on gaming, I just don't have enough time for it right now. I need more editors and your financial support. It is what it is, I'm just saying. That's all I have for you today, folks. Thanks for your attention. Don't forget to hit like or dislike if you liked or didn't like. Don't forget about financial support. And as always, this was Human with you. And as always, have a great gaming experience. See you.